it is, right. I would say something to you guys. I've got to be out of here to catch the 11:45 bus to Leicester. So I probably will just do the meeting for an hour. If that's okay with everybody, or just over the hour.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep,
And
that's
congratulations to Martin for his book.
Yep.
Yes, thank you very
Absolutely
much.
brilliant. Yes, well done, mate. Right, now, Ronnie has put together an agenda.
I've only
Right.
got 2 items on that agenda. Is that the same as you've got, Keith, or has he sent you more?
Let's have a look. What 2 items have you got, Barbara?
I've got how we can promote the FIPO cause to Facebook members and schools, and the need for a charity member to control the approach using blue jeans.
Right. Okay. What have I got here? Do we need closer links with CoFIPO? If so, how? Is it time to unite the FIPO organisations? I don't know whether we want to go there. Martin's book is being delivered. Well done, Martin. So that basically, no, I think we've got about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think that's what I got.
Requirement. Right. What was the first one you had, Barbara?
How we can promote the FIPO cause to Facebook members and schools.
Ooh. Open to suggestions, but schools is a very dodgy one.
Thank you.
I don't mean
I
that.
Totally agree.
I don't mean that unkindly.
No.
But I know CoFIPO have tried a schools project and it's not really got off the ground. The Researching FIPO History Group are doing it another way, and that is off the ground. So
through the art of captivity.
It's not that easy to do. So if anybody's got any ideas.
Yeah. I think Ronnie was hoping that I was going to take this on. And I have, real doubts about, like you said, Keith, about the doubt of taking this into schools for 2 reasons. Firstly, schools do a lot on Europe, and it's frustrating for us with Far Eastern prisoner connections that they get left out. And I gather that we can mention CoFIPO today. So I was not horrified, that's not the way to put it, but I was a bit cautious when CoFIPO launched into their education programme. Because if you're going to approach children, you want to do it in a way that they can understand and appreciate and learn from, and then lead on to what we've researched, basically. They do it by doing the evacuees, which I think is great. I don't think we can expose young children to what horrors our fathers went through. The only way I would have thought of it was doing it through internees and the effect it had on the children there, and then leading it on to a parallel thing. So having reread the CoFIPO, what they were launching last year, just to reprise what that was doing, having read it, it was a good idea, to get them to do a news report on the end of the war, but it was still quite complicated for schools to take on. I think
it was probably aimed at the wrong age group.
And it's the age groups that bother me. If you're going to do this, we look at the horrors, and I don't want children to take on horrors.
You can't do the horrors. I don't think that the trouble is, how can you do this project without them surfacing? I mean, I'm not going to say we're all hardened to them, because every now and then something comes out of the woodwork and gives you a good slap around the ear, and you think, oh Christ, I didn't realise that. Like, I'm picking up evidence now that the guys in Rangoon jail were experimented on by the Japanese with various illnesses. So I didn't expect to find that. But that's just me. It's something a particular project I'm looking for. But I don't quite know how we can approach schools. So if anybody's got any ideas.
My views on it. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Sorry. Can I tell you, my other group that I belong to is a Normandy Veterans Association.
Oh, yeah.
Based in Stockport. My father was a Normandy vet, as probably most of you know, and I'm still well connected with them. What we are launching in November, local schools project aimed at one project aimed at primary schools as a class project, and the second one aimed at I don't know what year they are, or I've lost touch with it, but secondary school children, age sort of 12 upwards.
Yeah.
And it's about a project based around the Second World War on local participants in that war. And obviously, we've still got some veterans available in the Stockport Normandy Vets group, and they can access those as resources or research their own information. And the idea is that the best project will win a cash prize for the class or the individual, plus there will be a cash prize for the school. Now the cash prizes are not huge; it's £50 each.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had very, very good response from the local education authorities and I suppose you could call it the head teachers who are looking for items to build up a new curriculum on Second World War history. And they've accepted this with open arms and taken it forward quite encouragingly. We've also got the backing of two local MPs, who are throwing some weight behind this as well. We've secured some funding. At the moment, we've got £1,050, and we're redeveloping the website to include the project's competitions, and also to open access to individual veterans' stories. So that's one way. It's sort of keeping it local.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Getting involved at the sort of high side with the authorities.
I think that's good because it does involve local people.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just add one important point, Keith? Sorry to cut across.
No, that's okay.
All participants who decide to include something to do with the Normandy campaign, all entries will be forwarded to a national competition, which is being held by an organisation called the Spirit of Normandy Trust. They're trying to get some education in schools as well, and they've had poor response over the last 2 or 3 years that they've been trying to do it. But they do think that based on a local level, if the projects take off, then they will be automatically entered into a national competition with obviously a higher profile and national prizes. So hopefully, other groups of Normandy veterans around the country will be encouraged by this, encourage their own education authorities, and then this also
it's a good idea.
Feed into a national competition. I'll take the point Barbara said about the horrors of FEPOs, but I'm choosing my words carefully, but there are some equally serious situations in a Normandy campaign which are not very pleasant for children as well. So I don't think we should be too worried about that, because after all, that's possibly what we want to get across in some ways, to remember what actually took place.
Trouble is, where we're at a disadvantage now is the fact that there aren't that many veterans left.
True.
One came out of the woodwork the other day. It was an event that was held in somewhere near Birmingham, and it was in one of the local Birmingham papers. I should have his name somewhere around here, but I haven't got it at the moment. Yes, I have. Geoffrey Colwick. But the trouble is, it's not trouble. He was with L Force. He was one of the medical forces that went up late in the war, or late 1943, August, I think it was. And his story is not particularly brilliant, I have to be honest. But there again, what they put in the paper doesn't cover the full story, which okay, they can choose what they publish, but it's in one of the local Birmingham papers. But no, he's still with us.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday, and we'll be following it up, obviously, because of my Birmingham. Well, I am from Birmingham, my Birmingham connection, and
no, the paper contacted me to do some work on it. So
oh
that's
right.
how I do about
Will you
it.
keep me in touch then, Ronnie? Because obviously I'd like to invite him to join us at the Birmingham Association.
No, please do. Please do. I've done what I can do. I sent it to the paper. So if you look at the article, there's a POW card there.
Right.
Well, I sent that to them, and other bits and pieces as well. But
okay. And Colwick is a name. We used to have a neighbour by the name of Colwick. So I wanted to follow it up to see whether this neighbour that moved away years ago could potentially have had a FIPO father or uncle.
Possibly.
It's not a common name.
He is the father of the Deputy Mayor of Sandwell, Councillor Carol Gort.
Okay.
So he's one of the oldest surviving Royal Army Medical Corps officers in Britain. Well, I don't think, looking here, he's not an officer. He was a private. And the oldest surviving member, of course, is Bill Frankland. So, no, that was quite surprising that the paper contacted me, and what could I tell them? So I told them what I could find out.
Of course, we in Birmingham have Ron Mockford.
Yes, indeed.
Just 95, yeah.
He was RAF, wasn't he, Ron?
That's right, yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I know CoFIPO have had no luck. The Researching FIPO History Group have. I just don't know how we can get it.
What medium is used for schools? Is it does someone attend the schools, or what? How's it actually put across?
I know when CoFIPO did it, they had a launch, so people attended the Memorial Arboretum for their launch. Researching FIPO History Group, I did one of them, and there was myself, Meg, and Martin Percival. So we were there as descendants of FIPOs. And of course, we had dear old Fergus Ancorn, who was there as the FIPO. So you can guess who stole the show. And the girls loved it.
Absolutely.
It was really brilliant. And that went down very well. And we're now getting them involved in something. So we gave them a project, and one of the projects that we gave them was the uses of bamboo. What could you use bamboo for? So they had to go away and research what they could use bamboo for. And then we went around the various classrooms, and they'd done various projects, and that went down very well at the school. What the next one's going to be like, I haven't got 100% details of the program yet, but I think it will still be, we've got one primary and two secondary schools, so it's going to be done in depth. So once I get some idea, then I can tell you. But I've only just done the one myself, really.
Yep. I mean, I was just thinking along the lines of, obviously, to attend schools, you need resources and people on the ground, and then you've got, obviously, you're restricted for how many schools you can cover. Has there been any consideration into making small video productions and video? So, for example, picking a topic on the campaign, whether it's the fighting in Singapore or whether it's on the railway, whether it's in Japan, could be done in a small production, in a video production, which obviously would be carefully written and scripted with a purpose and a meaning in terms of what the outcome's going to be in terms of, like you say, making something out of bamboo, or like a project to come out at the end of it, which obviously then could be put onto a YouTube channel, which could be owned by the FIPO charity, which then selected schools could have access to, and maybe that's a way that a school education program might go forward.
I think you might be talking yourself into a job there, Martin.
Well, I'm actually putting my hand up to volunteer if
that's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, you've got the experience on the YouTube things.
Well, I do a lot of video editing anyway.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy it, and all we need to do is actually put it together. Put the concept together, put the topic together, script it. There's always plenty of footage and photos to knit together. It could be something which, rather than people travelling to the schools and all that massive organisation that goes behind that as well, it could be as simple as doing it by correspondence through a YouTube channel.
Keith, the COFEPO has area coordinators, and I think there was some information on that put together because they were, hoping that the area coordinators would go into schools and do this sort of thing. Was it sort of made for all of the area coordinators to use, or was it just people, the particular ones themselves who prepared this information to take with them?
It was open for all, really, Barbara.
Yeah. So we have got sort of that if we had a link with COFEPO. My own area, the West Midlands, we lost our area coordinator a year or two ago, and it hasn't been replaced. Although people are welcome, obviously, to come to the Birmingham Association. It's filling in those gaps and realising the potential when you set something up that these have got to be able to be perpetuated. People take things on and then it doesn't come to fruition. We've got to be very realistic about whatever we do, especially where schools are concerned, because you've got to be able to maintain the contact.
Yep.
And taking it forward. We can't just go in on a personal basis and then drop out because, of other commitments. We've got to be very realistic, whatever we take on.
I think a very good example of that is you try getting people to be trustees of a charity.
Yeah.
Because we now are approaching, I'm going to be 70 next year. So are most of the trustees, and we are looking for younger people to take it on.
That's what I was going to raise.
You're greeted by a deadly silence.
Yeah. I totally appreciate that, because myself, I should be 70 later this year, and I'm coping with my mother who's got dementia and Alzheimer's, and although people will say, well, you're a pensioner, I'm not. I still work, and and I've got my mum to care for too, and a husband who had a heart attack last year. Yeah. So we've got to be realistic. My feeling is that we need to approach the next generation. Those are the ones we've got to look to, and then hopefully it will filter down.
I think Martin's idea, though, of YouTube is a brilliant one because it's a modern communication tool. We can see that with FIPO.
The kids would relate to it.
Yeah, I totally
FIPO
agree
community
with that.
now is all email. It's dead.
Yeah.
But FIPO family on Facebook, good following.
It's going. Yeah.
Yep. And look at I think that you're dead right. The next generation needs to get involved, and obviously I live on the wrong side of the world, because obviously if I was living in the UK, I'd be involved there myself. But I actually think that the way of the future is definitely going to move towards the development of apps, because this is an idea that John Cooper came up with a while ago in Singapore, for example, that if you designed an app that you could go and visit all these locations, which of course today a lot of it's built out and it's not recognisable to what it was during the war. But if you developed an app that actually then had original period photographs and then the storyline behind it, and I mean, I think that's probably the way of the future, that the next generations who do get involved with the technology, because essentially you need to have a technology which the young people will relate to as well and will want to use, and that could be adapted to most parts of the campaign and the war. So in terms of the school project, look, I'm quite happy to be involved in any working, editing and putting stuff together, because, like I said, it's a bit of a hobby of mine. But it obviously just needs then someone to coordinate it on, in Britain, of course, just to coordinate it with the schools, and then of course the schools would have the ability to proof what they're going to see if it's suitable, or what age groups it's suited to, and even, I suppose, they can work around who it's going to appeal to in their, with their students, and then I guess that could also lead to people maybe taking it on more of a project research interest, as well.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a great way for the knowledge to grow. And because I think one of the things that I've always feared is that with movies and and TV productions, they just distort the story too much. And I think it's important that there's an education piece that's grassroots, and this is the facts. This is what happened. This is, and I guess also probably a little bit of a topic in there around, how you can go about researching and where you can find this information, and how you go about researching and finding the information. Because I must admit that when I started out, I just relied on just asking lots of questions and chasing lots of people up, and then everything starts to come together. But in the early piece, you burn up a lot of resource time actually learning how to do it and where to source the information from.
So, this is starting to get wings, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, I think.
So look,
just had a comment. If I can just add a comment that I think from our own resources, as Barbara and Keith were saying, is that for people like us to go into schools, that's quite a big ask, because how many schools are there, and how many of us are there willing to do that? The proportions are not the same. It's just not going to work. And I think the other point that we ought to bear in mind is what we found out with this Normandy Veterans project is that it has to relate to the school curriculum. So we can't just assume that they're going to take it on. I think the approach must be, like Martin's saying, is to put it up there on the internet in a resourceful kind of way, and let the schools buy into that. We can do all sorts of local canvassing or approaches to education authorities and try to get them interested and get them on the back of some kind of website, web-based apps and all the rest of it. But it has to fit in with what the schools do.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it's probably ask the questions what the schools actually want. What information they would like to cover. What part of the story would they like to cover? Obviously we could build prototypes. I guess we'd pick a topic. Say for example we're going to cover Battle of Singapore or something, and then basically work around what we would cover in that, and then probably work a bit of a scripting, and then put a small thing together, and then let them have a look at it and see what they think.
Yeah.
But I think there's lots of great productions already, professional productions around all of these areas of the war. I think what we can do is tailor it for teaching and nurturing young people to take an interest and maybe become involved. Because let's face it, a lot of these young people are actually going to be relatives, but generations down the track. So there's still a family connection. There's still a family interest in there.
Oh yeah. Well, it was earlier this year. I went to a talk given by a young lady. I think she was about 17, about her great grandfather. And this all stemmed from the fact that there was a suitcase up in the loft. Open it up, there's all his papers. So she decided she'd research her great grandfather, and she did a very good job. Presented a very good talk as part of her curriculum at school. So much so that she decided to change her options and go for historical research. And I wish her good luck on that. And I supplied her some more material that she didn't have, but it can go with what she does have. But that was encouraging. But it's the only one I've seen that, or the only one I've been asked to attend. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Co-FIPO were asked to attend.
That one in Wolverhampton that you're
That's the one.
mentioning now, yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, I couldn't go. It was a work day, but it is interesting that she was one on her own that did that. She was fortunate enough to be at an excellent school, and I think the schools sometimes matter.
Oh yes, they backed
will
her.
get involved, because you may remember some time ago there was a Liverpool school that worked with Meg Parks.
Pensby High School.
That's right, and they did a garden project, I believe.
Yes, they did one. Yes, a local garden centre. Yep.
And they learned quite a lot, along the way with doing that. So you have to look at the ways that you can stimulate the interest. It's not always a direct way that we might imagine. Coming home, football's coming home. Well, Grandad came home, so Grandad's coming home. Let's explore, what it meant all those years ago for our granddads, and for us it was fathers. But great-grandfather's coming home. Could be the title for a YouTube thing, and they go,
yes,
football's coming home, Grandad's coming home.
Mr. Colwick was the one person on a Dakota that overloaded it, so they told him to get off. So he did.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
The Dakota never reached its destination, crashed in the mountains in Burma.
Fortunate.
That's another side. But yes, it's going to be a case of head scratching, I think. I mean, I think Marty's come up with a brilliant idea. Yes, we've got to use the modern media. I mean, we can't. There's no point. We got a website. I don't even know whether people look at websites anymore. It might be a case of but we've got this app that you can put on your phone. And this is what the youngsters use all the time. They use their phones. You could download a free app and off you go.
You mentioned a possible link with COFIPO, and I know Ronnie has had, strong feelings in the past, and we've all probably come across different things.
That's something he's suggested. He's
and I'm really pleased, because let's face it, one of the centres that most people find out about the FIPOs in Great Britain is a visit to the NMA when they will come across the FIPO hut. And that's, I think, if we could use that as a centre, where we can publicise these things, and perhaps, hopefully, the trustees of COFIPO would, be willing and see the benefits of a link up with us.
I think they would, to be perfectly honest, because they are very, very open-minded. Again, we might be the older generation, but it's a new way of thinking. When there are things that are happening in COFIPO that would never have happened under the old regime, not being unkind.
Definitely. And you do get schools visiting the COFIPO
hut.
I know that you've mentioned meeting students there yourself in the past, Keith. It's a good way.
I don't know whether to say to the NMA. I have to be very careful, because the NMA, they've got 350 memorials there.
Yeah.
So to say to them, can you tell us when the school's coming and we'll be visiting the building? They might do it. But their response might be, well, why should we single you out when we've got another 349 organisations?
The FIPO hut there is slightly different from all the other monuments, isn't it? It's almost a museum. I mean, we don't use the term museum, but it is really, isn't it? Especially upstairs where most people won't go. And it's a good point, a focus perhaps for publicising all of this, and how sad it is that so many people visit it. You read the comments in the visitors book, and they're just what we want to see, but they go away and they forget it. If we could have that app and the YouTube thing mentioned there, maybe they'd go away and look at it and take it on board there. There's been the sad thing that's happened with the personal details of files that have gone. I don't know how many are coming through now. I still haven't done my dad's.
Quite a number. Quite a number.
And link can say, choose a name, go and find them if they are there. I think I've said to you before, Keith, that it would be nice if we had a little asterisk or something that illuminated on the names, so that they know that there's a photograph and a story of that person, to go back and look at.
It could be done, because there's... For those of you that don't know, and Martin maybe hasn't visited the building, I can't think why, he's only in Australia.
Pop over, Martin.
I've been there once.
We have names projected on the wall, okay? And these are the names,
yes,
in theory, of every British serviceman that was a POW. Well, the original roll included Malayans, Chinese, other nationalities that had or served with the British Armed Forces. They're not commemorated. So that's something else. That's something that I'm working on to get those names on. We're now checking on the Burma campaign POWs, and then also people that were taken POW before the Japanese cards were made out and maybe died in captivity. They may not be on there. In actual fact, we found a number that aren't. And also people that were captured during the war and for various reasons didn't survive. They're not commemorated. So it's a case of we're just looking through to broaden that list out. But the database is not one that can be added to. So we've got to do a new database. So if we do that, then yes, we can put the asterisk up by the side of the names and say, look, there's a story here, have a look.
Yeah.
That would tie it in, definitely.
Yeah. You're personalising it then, and I think that increases the interest that people, it generates in people. They think, oh, that happened a long time ago, but the photos they see are of young men, and they think, oh gosh, that's like us, that's our people, and that's what they went through. And I think it's a way of, linking. And if we could perhaps form closer links with COFIPO, and I see that COFIPO's on Facebook is increasing its input.
Oh yeah.
So it's really good to see what's happening.
We've got a dedicated webmaster now, so
yeah. And also the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. I think with that the big art exhibition coming up in October next year, we've got to look at ways of perhaps linking in with that, and seeing what we can do and contribute to them. I mean, I see that COFIPO donated money to them. We also, from our association, gave £1,000 to them. So I'm hoping that, Meg and the team will include us more, and we're going to plan a visit to go there. And maybe Meg will find it that as they want to use it as education, I mean, to me, it would be great to be able to link into somewhere like the Open University as well, and get use of that generation, people who go on to there, learning about us as a qualification, maybe a history of qualification. As an organisation, this FIPO group that we are now talking about has an important role to play, I think, in getting the word down. Don't let us let this generation be forgotten. Let's find a way of stimulating the interest, be it through people going to university or doing it through Open University and using it as a project there. I mean, it was our golden wedding the other week. Now, my father worked at what basically made copper for the munitions in Birmingham, in Selly Oak here. It's not far from what was the Austin factory where all the aeroplanes were being built. So bombers from Germany came over. And my dad by then was a prisoner in Singapore. He could have stayed because his work was important to munitions, but he decided to join up. The canal that runs by it, where the jetty was that was loading things and that to be made into the bullets, the bombs that were going to be dropped, was bombed. 4 men were killed there. So as part of our golden wedding celebration, we had a canal trip and high tea, that sort of thing. And I planted a cross at that site in memory of my dad, or I wouldn't forget my dad, and the 4 men that were killed there, and used it as a way of saying, to people on the Facebook local history groups, look, did you know that where all these new houses are sprung up, there was actually a munitions factory and that 4 men were killed? And they all look at me in amazement. They're this new
Nobody
generation.
looks at the past history, do they?
Nobody lives there, and they were absolutely amazed. So from our golden wedding trip, I was able to start regenerating interest in what happened there, and that there were valuable things being done in World War II, that the bombers came over. You look there nowadays, you can't even imagine it. So it's important that we find an interesting way of stimulating an interest in this area of history.
Well, another similar sort of thing. I attended a Researching FIPO history group get together because we were planning the next conference and the work groups going around it, and we stayed at Fort Dunlop.
Yeah.
And there's a very interesting photo that was on the April cover of the Malayan Volunteers Group newsletter. And it was the men that had come over from the Singapore volunteer forces to march in the victory parade.
Right.
Now, these men would have been planters and the like. And there is a photo of these men on the steps of Fort Dunlop in 1948.
Goodness.
Just little things like that.
Mm.
Makes a big difference.
When it was VE Day in Birmingham, there was a peal of bells at St Philip's Cathedral, or we're trying to find out, where it was. I think it was St Philip's. Nothing was done, we don't think, for VJ Day.
No,
so this year, on the 2nd of September, we're hoping, it should be going ahead, I don't want to talk out of turn, we're hoping to have a peal done for the signing of the surrender in Birmingham at St Martin in the Bullring. Perhaps with the service linked to it, and then a commemorative plaque. My strongest beef is that there's a lot done for those who didn't come back, and I think that our men that came back suffered for the rest of their lives and should be commemorated for that. So hopefully, and maybe we could use that as well to, because I should be getting in touch with newspapers to expand people's interest in what happened then, by marking this peal of bells on the 2nd of September in Birmingham, and follow it with the commemoration of a plaque at some future time. It's all things that we still need to do to stimulate public interest. It isn't always the schools that we need to get at. It's those that we've missed.
It might be a dual effort. As Martin was saying, we can use social or modern social media for schools. It might also work for the older generation as well. In other words, generations below us. Might stimulate their interest, because the number of people that roll up at the building and my uncle, dad, grandfather, whatever, he was captured at Singapore or wherever, but they don't know any detail. So you give them the opportunity, and this is the big one. I always give them my card. I make it clear there is no charge. Do it for free, and get very little take up. It's almost as if they're thinking, do we really want to know, or should we just let sleeping dogs lie?
I think we have to take on that.
If we take it another way, as Martin was suggesting, then I think I mean, it's even Ray has done one on Ubon, so you're looking at one particular area, but it gives you an idea of what the POWs were doing and where they were.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
That's Ubon situation. I'm actually in Ubon at the moment. And, I think I've got a meeting this week with the governor of Ubon. I think this is Thailand. Anything can happen. But they have the local authority in Ubon have expressed an interest in the Japanese prisoner of war camp that was here for between February 45 and actually February 46, because it did have 10,000 Japanese surrendered troops held there for 6 months after the war. So there's quite a big story about it. And they're very keen to get across what the Ubon people did, and I like to think of all the Thai people did on behalf of the sort of sympathetic look towards the prisoners. Now, the point I'm making is that there's an expression of interest from the Ubon authorities to get this story out into their local schools, and also to try and generate some sort of local interest. How successful it will be, I have no idea. But that's something that I'm pushing forward as best I can, and I'm quite happy to let my work be used to create the story and the interest for the Ubon people, and hopefully, I mean, it's all been forgotten, this story in Ubon. Nobody has a single clue about what actually happened 70 years ago. They don't know what happened 70 days ago, never mind 70 years ago. It's in danger of being lost forever locally. But I think, some kind of project like that has benefit, but it's always on a local basis, isn't it? It's
Yeah. I bet you can go around Thailand. You could go to Takli, which I believe is a Thai Air Force base. Who built your runway? POWs. That's who started it. There's a number of areas you go around in Thailand, but as you say, it's local. But it's a start.
Yeah,
it certainly is a start.
And it's finding people who are genuinely interested and are willing to back it, to provide resources to get something off the ground. There's a shortage of money everywhere. Thailand in particular, they've got no money to throw at this. But on the other hand, if work's been created and it's going to generate an interest and be a lasting documentation of what actually happened, then it's worthwhile doing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. There's the Muntok Peace Museum that Rosemary Fell and the MVG went to last year. Now, they are starting now to do a regular sort of donation so that the authorities can pay for electricity to keep the building going.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere. Money is a problem all over the place. That's interesting, mate. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Say, this is Thailand. Anything can happen, and usually does.
Yeah.
But that's the word I've got when I arrived last week. I've going to sort of take things up tomorrow and make a few phone calls to see what's going on. But
let us know how that goes on, please. That'd be great.
Looking forward and mentioning our ages and everything as well, we've got VJ 75 coming closer.
Yes,
and closer.
2020. Yep.
So it may be something that we need to look at as to, we build up towards that and use that as a launching pad for things as well.
That's when the art museums. That's when the art project is going forward, isn't it? 2019, 2020. And we've got another conference in 2020. So yes.
And I know that she was sort of saying at the start that the joining together of the different groups isn't always perhaps or has had problems in the past. But as there are fewer and fewer of us moving forward of this generation, maybe it will need to happen. So many of the old FIPO groups have gone. The Birmingham one here is just really our generation now of people in it, apart from Ron. And it may have to be that we do more work together. This is something that we've got to think about, and we've got to do it realistically and without, falling out with one another or whatever, because sadly that does happen. Because
the trouble is you get egos coming into it as well, I'm afraid.
Exactly. You put it what I was thinking, It is very difficult, isn't it? But it may be...
if you're going to do something like research or whatever, you say, I'm doing this for the charity, or I'm doing this for FIPO family, then that research belongs to the group. It doesn't belong to the individual. Yeah. So you can't, if you've got any egos or you're looking for praise or whatever, forget it. You're in the wrong job.
I think what's happened, with CoFIPO, and that has hopefully, we'll be hearing at the AGM next month, has been sorted in that the Constitution should say that anything that is done for them, and we have to look at this in this group too, anything that's done for them, it belongs to that organisation basically. What you do yourself, it's irrelevant. You do it, and it's the personal property of that particular organisation, and nobody has the right to remove it or claim ownership of it.
Correct.
So whatever is done here, from this meeting, it's got to be that we all understand that whatever we do is that.
That's
okay.
Why
so I think
that's done it.
Yeah, because I think I don't know how far this particular group of that we're on now has gone. We mentioned a committee, but I don't know if there is a committee really. And have we got a constitution?
There's three of us, I think, so far. Ronnie, his wife Gillian, and myself.
Okay,
that's it.
I think it has to be out there and known that any constitution can be accessed by its members, basically. This is what I'm working on with my own group, because you do get pushed into roles in groups, and You've got,
Yeah.
well, you have to be protected. You have to protect the committee and the members of a group. You really do. So whatever we do to move forward, we've got to do it in a way that we can pass on, the logistics of the group, what we're here for.
Well, hopefully somebody will take over, if Ronnie decides that's it, I've had enough of hanging my spurs up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody, not necessarily me or a younger generation, will take it forward.
Yeah, but we've got to have that.
The interest.
You've got to have that framework for them to take it on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the other thing important about constitution, as we're finding in the Normandy Vets group, is if you're looking for funding, 99 out of 100 organisations that are willing to give funds need to see a constitution.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's important to get, and it doesn't have to be too difficult or onerous. But like Barbara says, it's got to protect the committee members. And
yeah, this is mine that I've been working on. It's one that says when I became to be secretary of our group, we did it then, and I'm not quite happy now that it protects us. So this week, I've been doing this all week because we need that framework, hopefully that will pass on to future people. It's got to be there.
It's like, we mentioned COFEPO. COFEPO is a charity. We also answer to the Charity Commission.
Yeah, absolutely.
So not only do we answer to our members, why are you spending that money? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But the Charity Commission are got to keep an eye on it. And
absolutely,
one of the reasons we have not gone forward with merging with other groups at the moment, A, is because they don't want it, and B, if a group handles welfare, they cannot access our funds because our constitution does not allow for welfare. So we've had some ups and downs about that with one particular group. But as you say, that's by the by. But it's marching this forward. So I think if we look at the education thing, we've got some good ideas come up. Let's go forward with it and see what Ronnie says when he views the video. What was the next one you got on there, Barbara?
Well,
sorry, Martin.
Could I just say one more? I'll just say one more thing about that.
Please do.
What I'll probably do is I'll put together a little bit of a proof of concept, just some high level sort of idea and structure around it, and then throw it out there and see what people think, and then we can build on it from there, I guess.
Yeah.
Fabulous idea.
Thank you, Martin. That'd be great. That'd be really great.
The next thing I had on this was a charity member to control the approach using blue jeans. Ronnie was trying, I think, to get me to be more involved in the blue jeans, and I think he'd contacted them. Then I was absolutely inundated with emails from a chap saying, come on, are you doing this? Are you doing that?
Oh, Lord.
And I actually just gave up. I didn't reply to this chap at all. He was saying, can I talk to you? And I thought, no, I've got to be very careful what I do because I don't want to be involved in any cost or any increased cost to the group. So I did ignore him, hoping that, I could sort of chat to Ronnie at some point in more detail about what he was intending me to do. So, as I say, I've let that. The chap has now stopped emailing me all the time. So hopefully he's got tired of my non-response. So I don't know what Ronnie's quite after, whether it's yourself, Keith, or another member, so that these meetings can take place when other people are on holiday or, have got other commitments. But I don't mind doing that. My technical ability is perhaps limited. I'd need some guidance, which I think Ronnie would and yourself would probably give.
Ronnie has given me his login and things like this. I didn't have to use it today.
Yeah.
I just clicked on join meeting and it's taken me in as Ronnie.
Yeah.
Which is a worry because sometimes somebody's going to say, hang on, he's in Norfolk. What's this guy in Leicestershire doing with this login? So somebody's going to twig, which worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, Ronnie wanted it so that if he can't make a meeting, then I could take it, or if I could make a meeting, somebody else could do it. But I think they want a lot of extra money for that.
Yeah, and that's what I was anxious about. Do only the members that get the invite from Ronnie, are they the only ones that can actually join these meetings? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll find that
Okay.
the members that get the invitation from Ronnie are members that have actually paid a subscription.
Yeah. So he sends it
I
out to
think
all
that's
of
right.
those.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yes.
Mm.
it's if you
No,
paid a
that's
subscription to
correct.
belong to
Yes.
the group, yeah, because that then pays for the membership of Find My Past and also looking after the site and all the rest of it.
Mm.
So yes, it is a very limited membership.
I think Ronnie was a bit anxious in the past about the videos going out. He wanted to sort of use them to encourage people to come in, but to be members. But he was worried that if you could do that without paying, that then there's no incentive to join the group.
We have just come across somebody in CoFIPO that is very, very kindly copying the newsletter to give to people who come along to the group who aren't members. And this is exactly what's been said. Hold on a second. If you come along to that group and you get a free newsletter, why be a member?
Yeah.
So that's been that. Will you stop doing that, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not being unkind, not being tight, but
No.
if you are that dedicated, then join the charity or join a group or something like that.
Mm.
Yes, I think Ronnie's right. That would be the worry. If everybody could view the videos and
There's no
listen to
point,
us talking and things like that, then
Yeah.
why would you pay a membership? Yes, Kevin.
So I'd just like to say about what you're talking about. We're trying to increase the membership of the people family, but obviously Ronnie wants to increase the amount of money so he can actually upgrade the Blue Jeans setup. So how about we're talking about making a video to put on Facebook so the Facebook members can actually see what goes on during the meetings. And also, how about having a trial where some of these people can actually join just for one meeting to see where it goes like?
It could be a way forward, yeah.
Good
Sounds
idea.
like-
A
just to bring
taste,
them in,
if you
right,
like,
need
it's a taster session.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a good idea to extract part of a meeting rather than a whole meeting.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
idea.
just extracts. I mean, obviously, if you put a whole hour on, people would just get bored of watching. Say if they want.
Absolutely.
But if you take sort of good bits out,
Most
show them.
Yep. Yeah, most people will watch up to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If it goes beyond that, normally they just drop off.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see this is just a way to try and bring them Facebook members in, because there's some really good members of Facebook who've got some great knowledge. It would be actually totally beneficial to our group. It is if we can bring them in by we're seeing like a taster video meeting, something like that would be great.
What we could do with this, with the Art of Captivity exhibition coming up, is to perhaps get somebody like Meg to come and talk to us. So you've got twofold things there. She can gain advertising airtime, if you like, for her the project there, and members would be interested in what's up and coming for the Art of Captivity, and would perhaps be keen to come in and listen to what Meg is talking about. Or I don't know if Lizzie Oliver is back now, or
yes, she is. She's still not 100%, but yeah, she's up and running.
Something like that. I'm still hoping, Keith, that maybe John Cooper will come to the CoFIPO and do the talk. Perhaps I'm sure there'll be something on that day. Maybe John Cooper could come and do something with us. And
I think this is what Ronnie was trying to do, is to get authors like John Cooper. Tony Banham was another one that was mentioned. Meg Parks was mentioned.
Ellie Taylor.
Yeah.
And maybe people would want to come and listen, and do it then, just as a taster. And these people could, like Martin, Martin's here with us now, and his book is taking off. I advertised it in my last month's newsletter, as you probably saw, Keith, that I've done. That people can, meet the author, that sort of thing. Meet these people.
It's another interest, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've got lots of ideas. It's actually now getting down to the nitty-gritty and saying, this is what we're going to do on this event or that event. Let's get it advertised and moving forward with it.
Yeah,
it's a pity that we're all so spread out and can't just meet up and hammer this out, over a table. We're all coming over to you, Martin. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Come on over.
Oh,
The sun is still shining here at the moment.
well, we've got
Here as
plenty
well.
here
Oh,
too.
cool.
Yeah. 30 odd degrees here today as well, Martin. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also going to
we had
say,
a beautiful 21 degree. Yeah.
see, Keith, I was also going to say that if there's a problem with, say, like a taster session using Blue Jeans, we do have the option of using Messenger on Facebook, because all the members
That's true.
probably have
Yeah.
Messenger. So, I mean, it's not, you can't record it, but at least it gives them some sort of idea of what actually involved, you know?
Yeah.
So if you have problems like doing the taster with Blue Jeans, the Messenger would be like an option as well.
I think
Very
it takes a lot of courage to come on and do these. You know, I missed the first two because I didn't want to sort of be there on the screen, if you like. You know, it's been shy, and everybody has got so much knowledge and I've got so little, but I'm here because I want to learn and I want to know about things.
Barbara, trust me, you never stop learning.
That's what I mean, and that's why
Been
I'm
doing
here.
this for 18
Yeah.
years, okay?
Yeah.
Singapore had no high explosive shells for their 9.2 and 15-inch guns. When did they decide they were going to order some?
February the 15th, probably.
January the 25th.
Oh, gosh.
And there was none in the Far East. Now, I've been researching for 18 years and I found that out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I just happened to pick up a particular file because I'm just broadening my outlook now and looking for other areas.
Yeah.
It's Martin's fault. But I thought, no, enough. Let's broaden the outlook.
Yeah.
And I'm finding stuff that I've never come across before, including Ken Coy's father's war crimes affidavit. I found that the other day as well.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know, it's you're always learning.
Yes.
Well, I am anyway.
But you see, this is a problem as to why many people don't go on. I mean, I had help and found out about my dad, and then I didn't stop there. I wanted to get the bigger picture. And like you say, I still keep learning. Most people, once they've researched their immediate relative or their uncle or whatever, that's enough for them. They don't want to do any more. We've got to encourage people to say, now, come on, there's so much interest here. You know, you should hear these things. The war crimes, they're of interest. These things that you just mentioned, these medical experiments that were conducted on people. I mean, to hear of those American airmen who were operated on without anaesthetics, this sort of thing, you know, wow, awful, you know, but, you know, if people could just get a taster of the diversity of the things that happened to the internees, to the Ramusha, this story is massive. Even before we were involved, what happened in China with the Japanese and all those different things. There's so much there to learn that you would never stop learning about it. This is why I say the interest for things like the Open University and university courses. If we could stir up that interest, that people would go and do it and assist in future research.
Well, it's certainly something we've got. We've had a good exchange of ideas, and there's certainly something to go forward with, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but I
think that if we go forward as FIPO family, it might well rub off. Probably not on the Java Club. Not being unkind. That's not, because they have the welfare side. MVG, Malay Volunteers Group, is exactly what it says on the tin. But certainly COFIPO, FIPO family, if you like, are near enough the same sort of areas.
Yeah, they're more aligned with our things, aren't they?
So we could certainly use it to drive it forward, most definitely.
I think as well the clubs that have got the welfare, where it's only FIPOs, wives and widows, that's going to come to an end eventually.
It will do.
Because there will be no FIPO wives or widows.
It will do. And then they have to make the decision as to what they want to do. Because if there is, no money being paid out. We have to look
forward to the time when that will happen.
Because they are all like us, relatives of FIPOs.
Yeah.
So it's
What we also need to bear in mind are like the monuments to these men. As I say, in Birmingham, I've been working for 2 years or so now to get things going, and I'm hoping that the lead on from the Peal of Bells will materialise in something. We have to remember the FIPO Church in Wymondham.
Yep.
That's dedicated to us. Came across another memorial on FIPO the other day, which was in front of a tree. It's the use of drawing in everything that we can find that's connected to the FIPOs around the country, perhaps here. Australia with Martin, I think what's fabulous what they do over there, as well for the commemoration for the FIPOs. I think they're far more, good at that sort of thing than we are over here. I think there's an upswell of interest at the November for the commemorative walk in London. More people are wanting to take part in that. So there's a way there of perhaps getting greater interest, waving our flag at those meetings. Here we are. We're co-FIPO and relatives of these FIPOs. Mm-hmm. Who are the FIPOs? Well, come and find out, Yeah. Let's give out information there.
One is obviously this year's a big one because it's the 100 years, the end of the Second World War, First World War, sorry.
So attention will be focused on that sort of thing. And we have to jump on the bandwagon, if you like, and use it for our own sake. Sorry, I should shut up. I'm an awful.
To be honest, they're starting to limit tickets now. MVG have had their tickets limited. I don't know about COFIPO or NIFRA. I have no idea. It's. I suppose it's just making sure that the Forgotten Army are no longer forgotten. And they certainly,
Come on, you've said the Forgotten Army. Are they the Forgotten Army? Or is it those that were up in Burma that are the Forgotten Army? I think I've raised this issue before.
Yeah.
I've just read a book of the 131st Field Artillery of the United States.
Oh, yes.
They themselves the Forgotten Army.
Yeah. Because I always think of the FIPO as that. Yeah, and then the more I've read, the more I've started to think the FIPOs aren't the Forgotten Army. It's the ones like the chap who just died across from where I live, who was in Burma. Mm-hmm. He was, he had awful experiences, and I felt that he was forgotten, really. And then there was somebody that was looking for these men the other week, and I thought, oh my gosh, Don's just died, and he would have been, a source of interest. He was a corporal, and he was haunted till the day he died. That he came back, but many of his men were shot, literally standing next to him. Yeah, and they were forgotten. Our FIPOs are more remembered than they were.
It's trying to get across, because we do get inquiries from or I get inquiries from Burma Star. They're talking about, my dad was a POW. He came back and he'd lost all his toenails and fingernails and all the rest of it. He must have been a prisoner. It must have been torture.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a second. No. Do you know what the terrain was like they were fighting over? The weather conditions and all the rest of it. Trench foot was quite common. So if you say to people, Burma was a horrific campaign, but more men died of disease than the Japanese killed. Really? Yeah, really. Yeah. So I suppose really it's the 14th Army that's still the Forgotten Army, because this was always a thing between those guys and the FIPOs, which is why the Burma Star site was moved away from the FIPO hut right down to where it is now in the Arboretum. It was moved. It's in the Southeast Asia plot, but was moved to the extreme area that was away from the FIPOs. So Right, folks. Anything else anybody else wants to say? Because I'm obviously mindful I've got to catch a bus. So.
Yeah. Well, we could put together. I see we could put together an email just for Martin, some ideas for Martin, if you like.
Yeah. Well, I'll draft something up as well. Yeah.
Oh, great. Magic.
I think, Kevin, that your Changi Cross would perhaps be a good thing as well to do, something like that, because that draws attention to what that was, and people can actually go if they're on holiday and lucky enough to go out to Singapore to go and see those things when the new Changi Museum opens again. There's lots of things, and the art of captivity, the art side of this. There's so many aspects that we can include in 3 minutes of a YouTube thing, aren't there, really?
Oh, yeah, it should be. Should be.
The medical things that were done as well in that. So, yeah. The best of luck, Martin. It's fabulous. I can't wait to see what you come up with, you know. Really looking forward to it.
Yes, I think it's good.
So what we'll do first, yeah, I'll just put some stuff on paper first for people just to proof and come back with some ideas, and then I guess if we want to put a little production together, I can put something together. That's no problem. But then we just need to decide what it is and how it's formatted, and even if it means some footage being taken over there at the UK with various people, maybe doing a bit of an introduction, or I can put it all together and edit it and make it a little production. So, but that's the sort of thing we can talk about going forward. I guess initially it's just working through how we want to target this and how we want to, basically put it together and what the outcomes of what we want the outcomes to be.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to raise, I'm sorry to bring this up before that, on Facebook the other night, when the football was on and Japan was playing, I don't know if any of you were aware of the upswell of strong feeling that came on. And I put on a few things about it, and I said, really, just show how much the children of these FIPOs were affected by what happened to their fathers. Their fathers may not have said much, but when you do the research, and this is what makes me worry about the education side of things with children and violence, things that you might put to them. What we find out about our fathers afterwards, if it's not put into perspective, can influence our lives greatly.
Definitely.
And I think some of them, and this nearly came up at the conference last year in Liverpool, and I think it was a bit swept under the carpet there. A lot of children of FIPOs do feel that they've been affected by their father's experiences in almost a sort of post-traumatic stress disorder. There were some really sad comments coming up about Japanese. We have to move on, and whatever we do, we have to use as a tool of teaching generations what happened, but with respect for the new generations of the Japanese, that they learn from it too. People are upset that the Japanese sometimes sweep it under the carpet and it never happened, a bit like some of the Germans who say there was never a Holocaust. So whatever we do has got to be done in such a way that we move forward and we say, yeah, this is awful, this is what happened, but let's move on, let's learn from those experiences so this doesn't happen again. We know it will.
You've got the POW network in Japan, who have done one heck of a lot with certainly Australians, the Australian organisations, and they've helped the Brits as well. We've had a couple of people go out there on trips, and they have taken care of. They can't do enough for them.
Yeah, I'm hoping to meet Carol Rowe this week because Carol Rowe's just come back.
You've got a gentleman over there who is actually educating the Japanese onto what actually did happen. And yes, he's getting some resistance, but he's still doing it. And he's due over in this country pretty soon, so I'm going to try and meet up with him if I can. So yeah, it's.
I've actually got to go, everybody. I've got to go off now. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well,
all right, Martin,
great talking again today.
Yes, indeed.
And what I'll do is I'll put an email and I'll send it through over the next week or so.
Great. Thank you very much, Martin.
Okay.
That's great.
Thanks,
okay. Cheers.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, folks.
Bye.
Okay.
Yep.
See you all soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
take care.
Bye.
All right, I'm stopping the recording now.
Okay. Bye.
Okay.